pull up is here. You guys ready to start?
Ready?
All right. Now, last we left off, you had retired to the quaint interior of the Stormcrow Tavern and regrouped there after an eventful evening in the Siren's Repose, a brothel in the city. The chamber below was warm, a fire crackled in the hearth, while outside the wind banged against the shutters, trying and failing to blow the cold inside. Delana, the woman who works at the tavern, had already gone home. It was just Finn sat behind the counter, having a nightcap, reading a book, serving his last customers, and waving you in. You took up residence in the large chamber upstairs, where Kor sat beside Tani, who was still bound, on the bed, and Barnack lounged in a nearby chair. A smaller fire was alive there in the hearth as well, spreading a warm glow throughout an otherwise darkened room. And just then, the door creaked open, and Jean-Jacques came back from speaking with his friend Arby, and at last Turnock also returned, his master Ko nowhere to be seen. But this is the way that the Ashen Hearts reunited, and still had one thing left to discuss: what to do with Tani. So in that warm, cozy room, Tani seemingly back to her senses, I just wanted to ask you guys, what was it that you actually chose to do after Tani's seeming fit of rage brought on by the gauntlets that she wears? How did you guys choose to proceed for the night before we move on to the main course in the Arcana Quisitas?
Well, for me, it was mostly just seeing if she's okay, like if she should be all right, and if that's a pattern, I would just untie her, just wait a bit and, recommend that she rested after we untied her. And for me, that's it.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys would want to do anything different.
We did discuss last time that maybe we should somehow look into ways to remove the curse, and maybe Mrs. Gold can help. I remember that conversation.
That is true.
Yeah,
We
but,
said we'd talk to her and see if she can do anything about it.
yeah,
Okay.
but it was mostly, just for that moment, actually, right? So, for that moment, just untie her.
Okay. So you guys talk a little bit more. Maybe Kor wanted some reassurances, but eventually, everyone's on board. Tani, you get untied, and presumably each of you can then return to your own chambers or to whichever chambers that you chose to share to save on some costs. And from there, spend a night considering what ultimately turned out to be quite a long day, in which many things happened and you learned many things about each other and about yourselves. But then, of course, eventually the morning came, and you awoke to a postizia covered in a thin layer of ice and snow. Occasionally you heard a loud thud as a layer of the snowy covering let go of the shingles on the rooftops nearby, crashing to the ground. If you poked your nose out the door or out of a window, you would immediately feel icy cold air dry your lips and enter your lungs. It's a cold day. It's not a welcoming day. It's a day that typically you might prefer to spend in front of a fire, but not knowing what else might be in store for you, you still had several plans already lined up, including picking up your new formal clothing from Madame Reynard's boutique, as well as setting out for the Arcana Quisitas and figuring out if you indeed wished to enter into a contract with the mysterious Basil. Of course, you picked up your clothes, and, if you wanted to, you could each subtract an additional 2 guilders from your inventory to purchase a very warm, wintry cloak that you could immediately wear over your regular gear in the face of this new cold weather that seems to have descended upon Postizia. Now, you had to walk a little bit. Sorry?
I just said I'll take that deal.
Okay, no, that's fine. So yeah, feel free to subtract 2 guilders and add a warm winter cloak to your inventory.
Actually, I said me too, but not me too. I mean, it's not that I'm resistant to cold, but I'm pretty used to it, and it's not like Turnock feels it the same way that other people do, so I'm not,
Sure. So, with those of you who wanted to, wrapped up in something warm, you decided to set out and try to find your way back to the Arcana Acquisitas, that mysterious alleyway in which you had found the hanging sign that indicated the entrance. It took a little while, though, the snow crunching beneath your feet, shutters opening overhead, and down the streets as you walked. You essentially watched the city wake up, until suddenly you turned a corner, and, very much as if by magic, there was again that same alleyway. Dark, not much snowed in at all, and with only a single sign hanging to indicate a place of business. The intertwined A and A on a field of luminous blue. Once inside, you found that the endless space had been rearranged. A 30-foot machine in the shape of a golem stood to the left, an enormous hole in its chest where something was missing, and in the center, ahead of you, stood Basil, who welcomed you and presented you with the draft version of the contract that he proposed. But, drawing the eye most of all, were several rows of long tables where were now lined up the most fantastical magical items, displayed in beautiful display cases or held in the hands of small statues or otherwise laid out on pillows to truly show off just how magnificent this collection was. You saw items of incredible worth and power, and besides each one was a small printed card on which the item is briefly described, either its history, its powers, or both. Basil introduced again the rules of the game. Please read the contract, and to negotiate with him about anything that you find unacceptable or undesirable, any wording or additional rules, or rules that you wish to be removed. You got the impression he's quite flexible. He's very eager for your support and your help, but overall he's still a businessman, and he still has to, of course, protect his own interests in this entire affair. So he has drafted this contract that you guys have had available for the past week, and I assume you've come prepared with some ideas about how to proceed. But finally, he does emphasize that this is, it's not your standard interdimensional contract just between two parties. He has made it available specifically under the authority of the Collier Root in Sigil, a sort of neutral party that will enforce contracts between interdimensional and interplanar groups. So, with that in mind, and with the wealth of things before you on display and the contracts to inspect, I would like to ask, what is it that you do? What is it that you say? And what is it that you want to achieve?
Well, I had one thing that I wanted to regarding the wording. I'll just pipe up to him and say,
Sure.
The contract itself seems well crafted and the wording appropriate. I would like to make one request and potentially negotiate about point 5, which says, "Never shall you directly or indirectly and knowingly be responsible for preventing the fulfillment of this contract in any way."
Mm-hmm.
I would like this to reflect both parties so that it indicates clearly that neither party shall be directly or indirectly responsible for preventing the fulfillment of this contract in any way, and then further add that this is including but not limited to working towards the detriment of the other party, working with individuals or entities that are conspiring against either party, and so forth.
He kind of pauses for a moment, quickly making note of especially the first party, and you actually hear him like under his breath agreeing, like, "Oh, that's a good point." But with the second one, he makes the note and he just kind of looks it over. Now, I have no interest in working against you in any fashion, so that part I'm perfectly willing to put in the contract. But I cannot. The level of information that we need to exchange in order to assure that this is the case in all cases is so monumental, and especially invasive in your case, that may not be enforceable. That does not mean that I will be actively aiding anyone that I know of is currently on a quest to destroy or otherwise impede you, but Let us say
Well, that was my intention.
okay.
So maybe we can word it that way, so that it's
Okay.
a person or persons that you know of are actively working against each other. Because I do agree with you. The
And of course, this would
level of
count for both parties once again.
Of course, yes. And I think this would fall under the other elements of the contract. We would have to, in some way, I guess, make each other aware if we obtain this knowledge.
Mm.
But I'm not exactly sure whether that would apply.
That would also be difficult. I can refuse service based on these terms, but there are still essential confidentialities involved in
Of course.
perusing my shop, and those I am not at liberty to break. So,
Of course. Fair enough.
I will add, and he waves his hand, and obviously I will update the contract to reflect this, but he waves his hand, so both lines update to include that both parties are subject to the rule of not impeding each other or preventing this contract from being fulfilled in any way. And the next line, an addendum, is added where the same thing applies, where no aid of any kind will be given to parties that, and it becomes this like really elongated. I already have an idea, but it's really long, impossible wording of like parties that may blah 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 be subject to etc. Until it reads essentially what you guys have just discussed. The essence of which is that you both agree to never impede or to never aid others that may possibly impede a contracted party from completing this contract.
Perfect.
All
That
right.
is the only addition that I would have asked for. Other than that, the contract seems straightforward as contracts go anyway.
It is, I think, one of my best and one of my most honest, so I'm happy that you think so as well. And he just kind of smiles and nods his head a little bit. But
The
he looks at
honesty
the
was
others.
quite surprising.
Well, that is what we agreed upon when we sat down. But, and he looks at the others, at Tani, at Kor, at Turnok, at Barnak. But of course, there are many voices in this room. Is there anything else that you have to add or remark upon or ask about in this matter? Ashen Hearts.
I started reading with a bit of a fear that maybe you would, I don't know, mention our souls somewhere. But I was pleasantly surprised that you didn't include any of that. So, yeah, my fears dissipated.
He smiles a little bit, and you can see almost like a boyhood charm about him, like a very young kind of person, at that approval. And he says, well, you do this job long enough and you get used to certain standards, and it's nice to be reminded that there are others who adhere to a higher standard, so to speak. So I was very happy to include also the prohibition on anything regarding souls being used in the completion of this transaction.
This is well, let's just say, Basso, that the rewards are offering for the completion of this quest that you're giving us, they only worry me to the point that it's going to be a tough quest. That's what I mean.
Oh yes,
And
absolutely. I mean, you will understand that, of course. I am happy to grant appropriate rewards, but they are absolutely commensurate with the challenge that lies before us. So I would also urge you to consider again the magnitude of the challenge before us. I do understand if at any point any of you choose not to move forward with this. I will be disappointed, but I understand. So please make a well-informed decision before committing to this, because you can tell once you commit, you're in for a good long while. With that in mind, would you like to have a look?
Basil, I have 2 questions.
Sure,
that
of course,
I don't understand most of the contracts, but that's why Jean-Jacques here.
of course.
What I did notice is that you said we would have a single year. And last time we talked, I don't think any time frame was mentioned.
Well, you see him almost immediately go like wanting to interrupt, but then he lets you finish, and he goes like, "I'm afraid that you indeed might have misunderstood. You have a single year to complete a given task once it is provided to you. Once we agree that it needs to be done in the pursuit of this contract, you have a year to complete it. The actual contract itself has no expiry date outside of the length of your life. Of course, I would prefer it if you don't leave it until you are old, decrepit, and incapable, but I'm sure you understand."
No, but Jean-Jacques does.
Well,
fine.
think of it this way, Barnack. If the whole quest was drink a keg of ale, we'd have a year upon being told to drink one single cup of ale to drink it.
Oh, so
But
it's
you-
just like parts of... Okay,
Yes,
I
each
understand.
part you may take up to 1 year to complete.
Okay. That was my first question. The second question, though,
Mhm.
is a bit more serious, Basil, and that is, did you know that what you would do to Tani when giving her the gloves?
Make an insight check. Anyone who's looking at him trying to gauge his response to this particular question.
I'm not going to take it just because I'm still trying to understand the contract. Like
Okay, that's fair.
talking.
I'm gonna say
wise to
Core
it.
maybe in a similar situation.
18 for me.
Okay, Tani 16, and Barnack is an 18 as well. Wow.
18 as well.
All right, let
I'll
me see.
take my normal dice, though.
Okay.
I haven't rolled dice in a while.
You guys can immediately see his expression kind of go a little slack, a little worried. You know, his whole head kind of like, You know, he wasn't expecting this question. He looks over at Tani, and he picks his words carefully, and he says, "Well, there are a great many items that are both powerful and dangerous. I attempted to warn you, but at the same time, our relationship was not what it is today, and my primary motivation is to make a sale. So, if you fail to ask for further details, at that point, that was not within my purview. I hope you understand. I know it can be difficult sometimes for people who spend their time on the material plane where there are certain rules and moral obligations to one another. But believe me, in the kind of business that I do usually, it is not something that you tell unless asked."
And he did warn us, if I remember correctly. He did give us like a
It
veiled
was a
warning.
vague warning, yeah.
Yeah,
Also, do you guys hear like drilling? Whenever
just
it
a
starts
tiny
here?
bit, but it's not bad.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything, so...
Okay. Someone's drilling. It's fine. Fair enough. We didn't. Our, as you put it, relationship wasn't what it is today.
He looks
Fine.
over at Tani for a moment and says, "Is everything okay? It hasn't given you too
Yeah,
much
just-
trouble, I hope."
Just a little bit on a couple of occasions.
Hmm.
Nothing we couldn't handle. Yeah.
For now.
Yeah, if we were to look for a way to remove the curse, would you happen to know how?
I might be able to point you in a direction, but do be aware that removing a curse from an item like this typically will exercise all of its magical properties. At least, you know, the more accessible versions of such magic, unless you fancy going to very deep places in very far away planes.
Maybe not removing the magic of the item, but just the item. Just
I can help you remove the item. I will even purchase it back. I cannot quite pay the retail price,
oh no.
but I'm willing to take it back for a price, and at least then you won't have had a total loss.
And it quietly sighs in the background.
The choice is yours. Let's just
it's
say
good to know. that we
let's
have
just
that
say
choice.
it's an offer that I will make based on our growing friendship. And he kind of looks at Jean-Jacques for a moment and inclines his head.
Okay. Well then, I don't have any other questions.
Very well. Then, as I was about to
didn't
say, would
understand
you
half
perhaps
of
like
the
to have a
contract.
look before you choose to sign or not sign? And he gestures to the side to all the magnificent items that are laid out there.
Yeah. Well, Judge immediately just goes and to
Sure.
look. But
He chuckles
is there
a
on the card regarding the cubic gate? Does it detail which dimensions this one goes to,
So let me check that real quick.
or is it just like a random dimension every time or something? Because I thought it was
The cubic gate. So the cubic gate. This cube is 3 inches across and radiates palpable magical energy. The 6 sides of the cube are each keyed to a different plane of existence, one of which is the material plane. The other sides are linked to planes determined by the GM. So yes, there is indeed a description. I will say 3 of the sides are currently known. So the side that is that goes to the material plane is known. There is one that goes to the Nine Hells, specifically to the City of Brass. And the last one will go to a plane that it has a very long name, and I will say you can make an intelligence check to see if you can decipher what it's supposed to mean.
15.
Okay. So it takes you maybe a little longer than you're happy with, but you do decipher the meaning roughly, maybe with a little helpful hint from Basil, who doesn't seem to know exactly either. But with his help, you guys figure out it means the place where all is and nothing is.
Okay.
What's up, Milosh?
Barnack has literally no idea what he's
Barnack's
reading.
eye just went. Whoop.
Yeah, whoop. But everything
Um,
is and nothing is.
All right, that's cool.
Turnok's reptilian blue eyes, are just that on, like, straight in the sword of sharpness, right? Like the legendary items, I pass by, but as soon as my eyes caught it, like I
Sure.
it's just there.
Yeah. I think Turnok and Core probably have a similar reaction there, with Core picking up the Holy Avenger because he recognizes it as well. Maybe the rest of you seeing Core with that particular sword, like your stomach turns for a second because of how you know his association with it in the potential future. But please, Turnok, you were saying.
No, I just no, I don't actually, I don't say anything, but I turn to, I go to Core and I place my hand on his shoulder and just say, I don't know how good of an idea that would be, Core, but especially considering the array of items that we have available. But well, I mean, especially with that on your hands, who am I to stand in your path, right? And I just turn my eyes and attention again to.
So as you turn, you briefly notice, and all of you are surprised when the Holy Avenger in Core's hand suddenly lights up, and it gets its characteristic glow. And you realize that in the 10 seconds that he's been holding it, he became attuned to it. And Basil will explain that while you're here, you can briefly attune to any item here and test out its properties relatively harmlessly. But it will only work within about a 40-foot radius around the tables.
Okay.
Carlos says, "Oh damn."
Oh damn!
Okay. Changes things.
Wait. So the crystal ball.
I'll try. May I take the ring of invisibility
Yes.
while Jean-Jacques is not looking at it?
Okay. Make a I guess a sleight of hand check against Jean-Jacques' passive perception, I would say.
No, it's natural 1.
So Jean-Jacques, as you're looking the other way, and as probably all of you are kind of distracted by other things, Barnack like tries to grab something and just accidentally pushes over like one of the other items from the table that just clatters to the ground, and you just see him standing with the ring of invisibility in his hand.
I look at him like, what? Why are you being sneaky, Barnack? Just take a look.
I'm not. I'm not being sneaky at all. I will don't this.
Oh. All right.
Well, guys,
He's like,
yeah, we would have to choose, and I'll be honest. From all of these, and I'll just point to the legendary items. From all of these, I don't think I should be using any of them, except this one that gives you more health. That one seems fine for me.
Oh, I should add this, by the way, since you just said that about the choices. Carlos just shared. Core would obviously prefer the Holy Avenger if the rest of the party thought that was the best idea. Otherwise, his vote would be for the Cubic Gate. Yeah, and very rare item, Amulet of the Plains, and yeah, uncommon item we'll figure out. That's fine.
That's why I asked him about the Cubic Gate. The crystal ball looks crazy.
It is
to an
very
extent.
good as well. Yep. I mean, I didn't give you guys shabby choices, you know.
No, you did not. I mean, I still want a robe of the Archmage the most because I think that long term it has the most, for me personally, has the most like consistent applicability.
Yeah.
But I think party wise, either the Ring of Invisibility, which we could just share, essentially, like one person can wear it 90% of the time, but we could always share it if need be.
Yeah.
Because it's, I don't think. Well, I'll ask Basil. Like, Basil, if we choose one of these items and then one person attunes to it, can we change them between ourselves whenever we want to, or is it more of a?
Oh no, I make no such
You wouldn't.
demands.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
Obviously,
All right,
the
that's what I
point
thought.
of lending you one of these items is to assure the success of your quest. So
Yeah. I just wanted to double check because of the exclusion from the other choice. But thank you.
of course.
What I have a point to make regarding the choices, and I have a question to Kevin. Actually,
Okay.
I'm gonna begin with that, just because, well, plot-wise, lore-wise, Turnock was trained to fight with a katana or something, similar to that, a slightly bigger katana, but whatever. It's
Yeah.
a type of sword that he knows how to handle properly. And the sword of sharpness, we can adapt it to be whatever and, to suit whatever character. But at the same time, the sword is something. Although I wanted it to be, a katana or something like that, it isn't. So I'm just wondering what kind of implications that would be, or what kind of flexibility we would have,
Well,
in shaping that object to be what I needed to.
Here's what I essentially tried to describe earlier as well, but I think I did a poor job, is that with items like the Sword of Sharpness and others that may, be just, can be a certain type of weapon or a certain type of armor, like mithril armor if you choose that, multiple variants are available. You can still only choose one, but with a Sword of Sharpness, it's essentially, for example, it's like a stone block, and it has different sheaths on different sides, and each of the different types of swords is sticking out there. So there's a long sword, there's a great sword, it kind of goes on like that with several more types of weapons. So I would say that, thematically speaking, you can definitely find a weapon that statistically still works as a great sword, but thematically definitely suits your your type of weapon. It might be, for example, of a make that resembles what you want, but actually it's from a completely different culture in the past, which just happens to coincide with something that you're comfortable with.
Okay.
That item's dope, by the way. Check it out.
Yeah. And not regarding in character. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Getting back. I just turn to all of you, and I do believe that if we decide to choose something from these legendary items, so they say, that will not grant an immediate advantage to whoever bears it or whoever picks it, we are going to be in a disadvantage. Period. So we are all selecting items. I say we who are not picking up or actually considering any of the legendary items. We have items that are going to affect us and our performance either in combat or in our missions directly. So I do believe that we should not consider something that would be to the benefit of the entire party rather than something an individual is going to use. So Core and Jean-Jacques, you have my blessing for you to allow yourselves to debate whether you would want the rope or the sword, the Holy Avengers. So I do believe that's the best course of action we should take. We should not consider an item that we won't be able to use directly by one of us, so I think those two options would be the best ones in this situation, especially considering the rest of the things that we have available.
Yeah.
That's true. Although I am considering of just getting the bow. This bow looks really nice. There is also another thing that, even though it's not specifically for me there, I like this little bottle that says it can summon things.
Oh, you like it, don't you?
Yeah.
Things you've captured,
but-
keep in mind.
No,
Or-
the other one, not the legendary
Oh, the
one.
fruity
fruity
bottle.
bottle.
Right.
Yeah, fruity bottle. Yeah. So, that would also just help the entire party, I think. But one thing to note, and I'm still very much sure that this is still the case. We don't have a specified person here to help us to heal us that much apart from you, Core. You can heal us a bit, and that's it.
A little. That's my best core.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I think that the sword and the robe are definitely beneficial to the individual, like in a significant way, but so is effectively the rod of resurrection, because we can support the whole party by doing that. And
Death is something sacred that shouldn't be violated. I'm not up for it.
well, I meant also the property of healing as well.
Yeah. Well, you can pick it up if you promise not to use it on me. Then I'm
Don't
alright.
want to.
The resurrection
back?
part, I could still
Yes.
heal.
Yeah,
you.
but still heal.
Yes.
I just wanted to double check.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's your right. For sure, I would be comfortable with that.
But out of all of the things that I said, the point that I wanted to make clear is just you do you.
Yeah.
That's the most important.
All right. So Turnock essentially, I guess, rescinds his claim on a legendary item. I think for Core, there is a very obvious benefit of his personal power increasing significantly with the Holy Avenger. You guys have seen how powerful that can be. So, let's assume that he makes that argument for you guys. But that is still very much a one-person thing.
Yeah. For me, it would be also.
Yeah.
I mean, I would argue that it bumps up my spell save DC to 18. And since I can no longer increase my charisma without like a tome, That's as far as I go without leveling. And my spell attack bonus is 10, but the spell save DC is I think the big thing, especially if I pick up hold person again, which I will, because I'm missing that spell. Suggestion.
In our nightmare fight, was Jean-Jacques using one of those?
No.
No.
No, yes, I was.
Yes, was.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys. At this point, I'm going to say let's take 5 more minutes, and by then, let's come
let's
to
decide,
decisions on A, signing the contract, and then B, whether which items you wish to take.
Well, I guess let's talk about signing the contract first. I think I'm in favor, although I think it's probably a bad idea. But I think it's just too good an opportunity to pass out. We've passed on 2 great opportunities to increase our power and influence, and I think this one, while potentially disastrous in the long term, does not pose immediate threat and does not pit us against anybody directly. Like, I'm sure Spheric won't.
This one is written. This one is written, and I like that.
Right. Yeah.
In
you can understand everything about it.
Yeah, and also the part that somebody will enforce, a neutral party is responsible for enforcing the fulfillment of the contract, is extremely favorable towards the signing. Thank you for adding that, Peso. And I'm in favor of signing it. So
me too.
Right.
Me too.
3 in favor, 4 in favor,
And
I
core.
think
Core also, I
4
think.
also.
yeah.
Kind of stated. So that part we've got figured out.
Okay.
Legendary item wise, I don't know how out of character. I don't know how we can solve this most easily since Carlos is not here.
Well, I think the easiest thing to do would be to pick the items that you definitely think are in the running, right, for you guys, because it seems it's only like 4 items or so, and like maybe each of you can just you can vote on each one, and whichever one gets the most is the one to go for.
Yeah, this
So,
also. Yeah.
Holy Avenger, Robe, Rod of Resurrection,
And the
the Cubic Gate, I guess.
yeah.
But since Carlos said he'd pick up the rare item if he doesn't get the legendary of Amulet of the Plains, he effectively casts, if I understood it correctly, casts Planar Shift, or does he just Planar Shift himself?
Let me double check that.
I was reading it, but I wasn't able to.
I think it casts plane shift, but let me double check. On a successful check, you cast the plane shift spell. Yeah. So you make a DC 15 intelligence check, and on a successful check, you cast the plane shift spell. On a failure, you and each creature and object within 15 feet of you travel to a random destination. On a 1 to 60, you travel to a random location on the plane you named. On a 61 to 100, you travel to a randomly determined plane of existence. So,
which can be hilarious, but also deadly, because you can end up on the plane that's
on a
have
fail,
air.
right? That's on a fail. I'm just gonna say hypothetically, because I know Turnok is intending to get the intelligence circlet. So you could theoretically lend your circlet to Core if he wants to use the amulet, or to anyone.
The headband, actually.
The headband.
The headband of intellect.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, to become actually clever Barnack.
Well, fuck you then. I'm picking it up. No.
You can take it. I have something. I have something else as well. It's
All right. So we have the robe, the sword, and the rod.
Yeah.
So I would vote for the robe, and Carlos votes for the sword.
Yeah.
So
hold on. Let's do one at a time, okay? Because I want to tally this properly, so we are not.
Yeah, but I don't think we don't even need to vote, because I'm quite okay with you getting the robe or him getting the Avenger. Rod of Resurrection is fine for all of us, but if anyone wants the robe, or rather the Avenger, more than that.
That's the thing, like, it's very, very gracious, but ultimately it's easier to get to a point where we have a choice if everybody just chooses. because
Yeah, that is
otherwise, you
true.
know, like
Yeah, that's also
there's
true.
no progress.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm
it
gonna,
helps us break the tie, because otherwise it's just Carlos and me having to talk it over for a long while. And
yeah. So Core and JJ I have down. So let's start with Tani because you're at the top of my screen here. What is your choice for legendary item out of the Holy Avenger, the Robe of the Archmage, and the Rod of Resurrection? What do you think would benefit the party the most, or which one do you think is most deserved?
I'll vote for Robe of the Archmage.
Okay.
I was thinking Rod of Resurrection because I did sort of almost technically die before, but
Mm-hmm.
we
You
can
can.
find other ways to bring someone back in.
Theoretically, that's true. Okay, so Tani, Turnock, what's your choice?
So, and I'm going to just a little bit of explanation regarding why
Sure.
I picked this, but I do believe that out of everybody in this group, the person with the biggest untapped potential, so to speak, is Jean-Jacques. So, whatever choice we have to favor him would be in the best benefit of the party. So, I don't believe we need to keep voting because I also vote for the Robo.
Okay. Well, it'd still be interesting to know if Barnack thinks anything different.
Do I, as a leader, get 3 votes?
As you guys are discussing this, Basil just kind of, he's tallying and he just walks up next to you and he just puts a hand on your shoulder. He just says, "Of course you do." And then when you're looking away, he just looks at everyone else like,
I turn to Barnack and I say, only if you're wearing the captain's hat, otherwise you lose your leader post.
Darn it! I gave the hat. No, I would go for the rod itself, but at the same time, I do believe Jean-Jacques, you will benefit from the robe. And honestly, your versatility with spells will benefit all of us. So take the robe and help us with your spells.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
very good point.
Yes.
All right. So the Robe of the Archmagi, if I'm correct.
And Basil, can you throw another one in, like just the rod for shits and giggles? No.
He just kind of looks at you and smiles a little bit. You're a very funny one, aren't you?
Darn it.
No, I am sorry, but I have a certain responsibility, and it's why we have to do all of this under contract and with very strict regulations. Otherwise, this place would not even let you leave anymore.
So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it, and I will use the power of the item to help us all out on
All right.
any quest, but this one, of course. Now, I know that you all have your uncommon item picks already, perhaps, but just one that I wanted to throw out there is Spy's Murmur, in case y'all are interested in. It effectively gives... I'll read it out of character. This headpiece, crafted from dark metal, and it's from GGR. I don't know what GGR is, Kevin.
Grandmaster's Guide to Ravnica.
Oh yeah.
Ravnica. All right, so
Ravnica,
maybe then
but
it's out of the running, but...
No, it's fine.
Yeah. So if you know a creature wearing another Spy's Murmur, and that creature is within 1 mile of you, you can communicate telepathically with each other. As a bonus action, you can allow that creature to hear everything you hear for 1 hour. You can end this effect as a bonus action, and it ends if you're incapacitated. So this is like a Spec Ops thing that I think would be interesting if we all had it, but I think that it's a very utility-based and situational, and I don't know how much use we'll actually have it for it, but I just wanted to throw it out there because I thought it was cool.
I will
But I
say
also
he
have-
probably has like 3 of those lying around. So.
Okay, so if it's not for everybody, yeah.
So,
Still, that
You
would
know.
be interesting.
considering that this is the Arcanas Acquisitas, and everything from different planes, there's a lot of things available. I'm guessing that I found myself a sword that resembles the technique and the ways and the weight and most importantly the balance and size of my own.
With their kind of Quisitas's nature of being interdimensional, you could probably find like an almost legitimate katana
Yeah, that's
with
what
the
I'm
enchantments
going
you're
for.
looking for, but that still hits like a like a great sword. So sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So it's actually now a proper katana, and I'll come up with the art for you in a week.
Sure.
Kevin.
Sure, just
There's
keep
that.
it within reasonable proportions, and
No,
everything's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah.
You know.
And the other thing is the headband of intellect that I mentioned is my final pickup. I'm going to wear it, and you guys can all see that if you want, but I'm going to put it in my head like an actual headband. I'm going to take my headset off just for purposes, but I'm going to slide it down like to what turn out the only way that I can best describe this is like dreadlocks, but they're not actually dreadlocks. But I'm going to slide it down and use it to actually tie them together, in the back of my head, like a ponytail of dreadlocks. That's how I'm going to wear this headband. I'm going to like kind of twist it and make it tighter, so it's actually tying my hair together. And I just mentioned to all of you, I was going to need one of those for the ball. Might as well make it useful.
All right.
And what this does is just my intelligence score whenever I'm wearing it is 19.
Yeah. So for those of you that already have items picked out, you can go ahead and look it up in the compendium and just drag it onto your sheet, and it will add it to your character. And if I'm correct, it should also manipulate the appropriate stats. For example, with the headband of intellect. So with the robe of the Archmagi, you can do that. The headband of intellect, the sort of sharpness you can add. Just make sure to set the stats equal to be, a +1. I think
It's not an actual.
It's not a +1.
It doesn't add anything. It's just the properties of your
yeah.
weapon
So
change.
maybe add it like as a trait or something. But make sure that you have your greatsword marked as being this sort of sharpness, and that it's magical, because I don't think it gets a +1, but it still does magical magical attacks. So for the purpose of penetrating resistance. So,
Okay.
So that is Turnok sorted. The rest of you still have your very rare items to choose, as well as adding your uncommon items. So throughout all of this, right, you guys are kind of like milling around the table and picking up things and trying them out a little bit. Whenever you are ready to choose your additional, like, kind of signing bonus item, the uncommon one, Basil just takes you one-on-one into the stacks, and you feel like you walk for a good half hour or so, even though it's not quite that long at all, before you arrive at a place where, as you look around slowly, each item just seems like it's relevant to you somehow. But you arrive wherever you need to go to pick up what you as players choose, and you emerge, having the items that you want in your possession. So, please feel free
I have a question for a device, just because I'm enamored with this particular item, but I'm also enamored with the second one. So one that is very much utility based, and I think could help us out in the long run, is Head of the Skies for the uncommon one.
Yeah.
Or this wonderful item from Tasha's, which is +1 Bloodwell Vial. It gives me a further +1 to spell attacks and spell DC, so I jump up by another 1, and also allows me to recover 5 sorcery points on a short rest effectively if I use hit dice, which I think is pretty strong, like pretty dope, and I think it's awesome. But I don't know if you since I already got the legendary item, if you think that Head of the Skies would serve us well, which would essentially allow any of us to change our appearance, because I think it's not attuned, so
That's
it's just
correct.
easily change hands. So
It's up to you guys. I'm gonna go add Core's items.
Hat of Disguise requires attunement.
A hat.
So you can
either
switch
way,
it still on a short rest.
yeah,
Is
but you
it
can get
Head of Disguise? Is that what it is? I was thinking it was Head of the Skies.
First time I heard
hat.
Head of Disguise. Of
Yeah.
Disguise.
Yeah, probably said it
Yeah.
incorrectly. Yeah.
What does it do? Like, does it skywrite?
Yeah, I was thinking like a head
Of this
Oh
guy.
my God.
Yeah.
of the skies. Like, what is this? Okay, Head of the Skies. Yeah.
Alright.
Let me just see what that means. This can use an action to cast this as well. From the back. Oof. Nice one. This one.
Yeah, and it's unlimited. There's no charges, anything. You can just do it whenever you want. And it's a really cool item I love, so it will be useful regardless. I just thought that double dipping into this whole thing and getting +3 to attacks and spell
And getting
saves.
your sorcery points back.
Yeah, it appeals to the min-maxer in me.
It is very powerful. So
It is very powerful. For an uncommon item, it's insane.
Yeah. You should take
I
it.
mean, we've basically peaked you to min max, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't
That's
mind
true.
if you actually min max. So
Yeah, you should take it. That's fine.
yeah.
All right, then.
okay. So make sure to add that. Barnak and Tani, are you also clear on the very rare items that you want to choose?
Just for you guys to know, and anyone who's watching, I was eyeing the uncommon things, and the insignia of claws. If I would have seen it, it's an insignia of the cult of the dragon, which would flare purple when I use it. But then, perusing the shelves, she noticed the eldritch claw tattoo, and that's what she would choose as uncommon.
Nice.
What? I'm sorry.
Eldritch claw
Claw.
tattoo. Yes. So it's a needle and you can tattoo it on.
Oh yeah, that's dope. I like those.
Yeah.
So
And
very nice.
for the very rare, she would choose manual of gainful exercise.
Uh-huh.
Because she'd feel like she's training again.
Nice.
And back in
Okay.
her childhood in the Sacrosanct of
Very nice.
yes.
So yeah, you have your Eldritch Claw tattoo, which you can apply as you like. Depicts claw-like forms and other jagged shapes. While the tattoo is on your skin, your unarmed strikes are considered magical for the purpose of overcoming immunity. You gain a +1 to attack and bonus and damage rolls. And as a bonus action, you can empower the tattoo. For the duration, each of your melee attacks with a weapon or unarmed strike can reach an additional 15 feet away from you, as inky tendrils launch towards the target. Ooh.
That's 20 feet
And they deal an additional...
range.
they can reach a target up to 15 feet away, I apologize. But 15 feet is still really good. And
Still.
they also deal additional 1d6 force damage. Whew. It's basically
Very
a
nice.
rage, kind of.
Yeah.
So on that point, as you walk into the stacks with Basil, Tani, the moment you guys are kind of out of earshot of the rest, which is surprisingly fast, he kind of, just walking beside you, looking ahead, very calmly, he just asks you, so, have you given any thought to your gloves? Do you wish to return them? I wouldn't blame you if you did. I won't be offended. I do understand that that's not convenient to have around friends, I suppose.
I mean, I quite enjoyed the extra power it gave me, and it did heal me up, but
They are very potent, yes.
I am thinking about my friends. I shouldn't hurt my friends.
Well,
And
I mean, they're-
shouldn't risk it every time I'm throwing punches.
there's an alternative. I can remove the curse from you for now, then you can take them off, and you can put them on again if the situation requires it.
Yeah, what if there's one time when everybody is down and I'm the only one left standing and I need extra punch power?
He raises his hands and kind of stops for a moment. He says, do remember, you'll need some time to get back into them once you to readjust to their effect. But yes, if you face a deadly or overwhelming situation and overwhelming odds, then this might very well save you. So, but I got the impression that your friends especially are eager to be rid of these, so I can
Yeah.
remove the curse, and then I would suggest that maybe you hide them until you need them later on.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing I can do. I want to keep the power, but I also don't want to harm anyone
There you
that
go.
shouldn't be harmed. So yeah, let's do that. And I hold out my hands.
All right.
Is that private? Is that
Oh
a
yeah,
private
they've walked
conversation?
away.
Yeah.
They're in they
Okay.
because what you notice, like anyone who stays behind when Basil takes you into the shells to walk away, like you watch people go and they get maybe 15 feet between the shells and it's just a straight line that they're walking, and you blink and they're just gone. It's like one footstep to the next, they're just
Okay.
You throw blade armor.
Yeah.
So nice.
So Tani, he briefly takes your hands very gently in his, and he looks you in the eyes, and he mumbles something in what you think is a sort of draconic, and he casts a spell, and immediately you feel like this kind of weight lifting from your shoulders, and you can just take off the gloves, and you just hold them, and it's like they have no power over you at the moment.
You don't happen to have any other gloves that happen to be uncursed, do you?
It's a bit of a specialty item, I have to say. I haven't gotten any recently, but I can keep an eye out. I do peek in on a few conventions here and there.
I liked punching with gloves. So yeah.
All right. I will keep my ear to the ground. Anyway, please this way. And he takes you on, and he leads you to the items that you're interested in for you to take. And Barnack, I believe.
Yeah, I'll
Anything
approach
unclear?
Jean-Jacques just to ask him. Jean-Jacques, very important question. You know that I don't like killing people, so I'm not sure if I want to take the bow. There's a little bottle here that can summon a fire spirit or a fire genie, and I've read about these. There's a chance that the genie can give me wishes. 3. Small chance. There's a chance.
Right.
What do you think? What's more dangerous for our enemies? Barnack with 3 wishes or Barnack with an amazing bow?
And there's a card that details all of the effects of the item, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right. So it details like what happens when you roll, right?
Yeah, pretty. Yeah,
So
I mean, in more appropriate terms, but yes,
Yeah.
it explains it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Has Barnack taken the card and hidden it? Perhaps, or is it available for Jean-Jacques to see?
No, I'm holding it and like I'm reading through it and I'm like, yeah, it can give me 3 wishes.
And that's all it does. You just summon it, and it gives
Well,
you
no,
3
it can
wishes?
also the fire thingy can also attack us.
Right.
But the most common thing is that the fire thingy can be under my command for an hour.
Right.
It says here how it's feeling that day.
Okay.
So what's
Well-
more dangerous?
I think that Barnack with 3 wishes is the most dangerous thing known to any form of sentient being. And I don't say like let me see. Can I roll an Arcana check just to see how much I know about this ephemeral, super high level magic known as the Wish spell,
Sure, make an Arcana check.
or any other? I mean, would I even have any knowledge about it?
Oh, I mean, wishes are obviously not a secret, right? It's more,
Right.
there's so much lore, it's about whether you are able to pick out the
Yeah.
right kind of lore.
Okay, so Arcana check. It's a 13. No, 11.
Oh, okay. I will say you've heard incredible stories of people changing the world for the better with the wish spell. What?
No. I was hoping that I'd know about the trickiness of the whole thing.
No, there are
no,
even
I'll-
rumors that Arethea used the wish spell to become as successful as she did.
Yeah, that would make sense. I'll just say I fear the world where you see it as better, because that probably means there's like rivers of beer and mountains made of bacon.
What's
And
wrong
while
with rivers of beer?
While I do appreciate all of those things, everything we know would just die, because nothing except you can live only off of beer and bacon. So,
I'll take the bow.
but I wanted to say, like, if the most likely thing that happens is we have an incredibly powerful fiery spirit that has access to this magic, that's probably dangerous in and of itself. I don't like the idea of it turning on us if it's a bad day.
Yeah, it says here that
But-
it can be cranky. That's fine.
Right.
I'll just take the bow then, and I'll gather money for this later and buy it off Basil. I mean, that can
Okay.
be a personal goal. You have to remind me though. I'll forget.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you.
The bow looks beautiful, though.
Yeah.
I can
Is
teach
there-
you the Elvish phrases you need to know.
I know Elvish.
You do?
Maybe. Let me actually check.
I know Elvish.
It's, whether he knows it or
Like-
not, it's a very
It's like
Barnack
me with
thing.
Spanish. I know Spanish. Me llama Nicola.
Oh yeah,
all
I
I
have
know.
I don't know a single word in Elvish, but I
But does Barnack
yeah.
know that he
I
doesn't
know, yeah,
know?
Exact-
yeah, but I know Elvish. I mean, I've heard words.
Just speak some Dutch. That sounds like Elvish.
Yeah.
You
Sounds
do
more
need
like a
to have
missile.
no, the bow communicates in Elvish with you. You don't need to actually speak in Elvish with to the bow, or do you? Like
So
Well,
both
from what I understand,
Yeah.
the arrow, the bow actually speaks whenever you're targeting your
Oh,
sword.
maybe I
and
misunderstood.
Yeah,
Understood it,
so
yeah.
when you knock an arrow on this bow, it whispers in Elvish, "Swift defeat to my enemies." When you use
Ah.
this weapon to make a ranged attack, you can, as a command phrase, say, "Swift death to you who have wronged me." That doesn't say that it has to be in Elvish.
Mhm.
And then it just does what it does.
Okay.
By the
Okay,
way,
yeah, I'll just take the bow, Jean-Jacques, and then remind me in like half a year to come back and buy this bottle, and I'll
Alright.
even ask Basil to just have it hidden somewhere and not like just
Kev, there's obviously
to
a
anyone.
mirror somewhere, right, in this store,
Okay.
in this shop.
You look around
Right.
for a mirror?
Yeah.
Okay, make a perception check.
I thought this was going to be simple. It was just
Have you met
something
me?
really
Is
stupid.
anything simple?
7. Fuck.
Okay. Let's see. Oh
Mirror
no.
of desire all of a sudden.
Okay. So yeah, you find a mirror.
Yeah, I was
It's
just
like
I was
beautiful. Very very elaborate.
yeah, I was going to go through my motions, through my flows with the new sword. That was it. Like I was going to grab while you guys were picking, I was just going to pick up my new sword and go through my motions, through my flows, my training methods, just in order for me to get used to the weight and size. And I was just going to practice a little bit, like in front of the mirror, which was something that during training we actually did. So.
Okay. So could you very quickly make a charisma saving throw for me, please?
A charisma saving throw. Charisma, out of all things. Let me just check if elegant courtier. Let me make a charisma. Okay, charisma check. Okay, so I can use my wisdom modifier as a bonus here.
Yeah. So
I'm
this is in the
actually-
time that Basil is currently walking with Barnack to find his uncommon item. So two of them are missing as you go.
Yeah.
Like near the front of the stacks, you just see like there's a couple mirrors actually lined up, all with these really ornate kind of frames and stuff like that. Very beautiful. And you walk up to the first one and you look into it.
Is core
It's
near Turnock?
Not that near.
My charisma check, it was a 4 on the dice plus 4, which is my wisdom modifier. It's an 8.
Okay, so those of you by the tables, so that's Tani, Cor, and Jean-Jacques, you watch as Turnock just disappears.
Oh no. I just go like, Basil?
There's a brief like lack of response, and then like Barnack, you're walking with Basil. You were walking towards the place. You already saw like up ahead some items that started to look interesting, when there's like Jean-Jacques' voice kind of carries across the stacks, and you guys turn a corner and you walk straight out back to where you were. And you just
I
kind of
almost
look-
got my bow, Jean-Jacques.
Well, I just point towards where I saw Turnock last. Turnock just disappeared.
He just kind of looks frustrated. And he looks to the rest of the party. I do apologize. I might have left the lights on a little bit. Just one moment. And he walks over to the mirror and he says a word in another language, and it sounds like a command word as well. And then he says Turnock, and immediately Turnock, you feel yourself emerge. You were in a like 10 by 10 interdimensional cell. Like it was just pure stone, and into like you looked into a circular room where you could see that there were 12 or 11 other cells which were occupied by different creatures or people. Most of them unresponsive. Like one kind of grabbed the bars and kind of like, help me, and then you were ripped out again. And you just kind of stumble out, and immediately Basil says another word, and the mirror like kind of gets this brief gleam, and he just kind of turns and grabs you by the shoulder a little bit, like, "Are you okay? I do apologize. I shouldn't have left the mirror on."
Definitely keep those things covered, man.
How
no,
much
no,
for
it's
the
not
mirror?
a matter of covered. He looks at you, Barnack. Well, with your new discount, I think it would come down to a few thousand gold pieces, guilders.
Okay, so the bottle and the mirror. That's what I'm going for.
It just kind of shakes his head like,
Wait,
oh no.
he kind of like pauses for a moment as you seem very excited. He looks back at it. Oh, wait, no, that would be that one. Same effect, but empty. This one is a little more expensive on account of its denizens.
No, the empty one is fine.
He turns back to you, Turnock, and he just kind of grabs you by the arm a little bit and leans in close, and he says, "Did anyone talk to you in there?"
Pull me out real fast.
Okay, good. Just
Not a chance.
don't remember. It won't be good for you, and I'm not protecting myself, but trust me, you don't want to remember what's in there. And he lets go, and he goes, "Okay, Barnack, let's go get your bow." And he walks you into the stacks.
Is there an actual mirror somewhere here, Basil?
You can use that one now. It's off.
Okay.
Just don't
Now
say. And he says the word again. He's like, "Shit," and he says it again, and you see the sheen go up and go down again.
I just proceed on with what I was doing before then. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So yeah, you are all provisioned and equipped with the items of your choice. So please make sure that you have it all on your character sheet and properly set up for your use. But after another 10 minutes or so, everyone has what they came for. You are dressed in the robe of the Archmagi, and
Which is gray.
yeah, and properly attuned as well. And you notice that as you leave the attunement field, this one stays. So you guys can immediately attune to your items here. And Basil just briefly looks over at the contract with all your signatures at the bottom, and he smiles. He rolls it up and briefly whips his arm, and another one falls into his hand, and he unrolls it, and he shows you that there's your signatures are there as well. And he hands the one copy to you, and the other one goes into his own administration. Wow. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I really hope we can make some progress here. Let me see here. Yes, so, on account of where to go next, I mean, we've discussed the murders happening in Postizia. I think you might have a good lead there. I don't know too much about it myself, but murder is typically a good place to start when dealing with the god of murder, and information I think will be key in this first stage, as I'm not particularly familiar with the ways in which Shirik has entrapped me in this place. Nor exactly who created this place to begin with, or who trapped him, because as far as I know, he only manipulated the existing enchantment to place me here. In any case, that might be a good place to start, but I've also received some information that there might be a cult of Sirik that's taken up residence in a nearby village on this island of Postizia that you're on, towards the mountains. I think it's about a 2 days ride if you go fast in the foothills of the mountains. It was once, to my understanding, a crypt dedicated and made holy in the name of the Raven Queen, but obviously abandoned since the events of some time ago. What is it now? On your timeline, 50 years?
Around 50.
In any case, I think it would be good to go there and see if you can find find out what they're up to, and maybe even find the head priest. He should know a little more about. Well, they're very disorganized, but even Cyric has some people that must be trusted. The town in question is called Aga's Hill. So please, when you have time, please look into it. And he looks to Barnack. This would be one of those things that you have a year to complete. Although obviously, with matters like this, they can be time sensitive. So a year from now, you might have a much more difficult time finding out what happened there.
Understood.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure doing business with you. Of course, it's costing me more now, but my freedom is something I'm very happy to put any price on that I can pay. In any case, yeah. Is there anything else that I can do for you, or shall we part ways here for the day? As you guys stand there, kind of deciding, basking in the glory of your new items and your new power, I want you all to roll a perception check. And I'll roll one for Core as well. Because there's something that in all of this excitement was overlooked.
14.
14.
19.
23.
Okay. And Tani?
13.
13. Okay. Alright, I will say the 19 and the 23. As you guys look around, look at each other, look around, the both of you are drawn with your eyes to one of the shelves that stands way at the entrance, but you're seeing it now from the other side. And on maybe chest level, there's quite a large shelf, and you see there displayed is a sword. Beautiful engraved sword, very, very ornate in make. And you see all kinds of very fine lines. This is almost certainly elven work. And in fact, the artwork on it very much resembles the artwork on the scabbard that you guys once retrieved.
Oh shit. I look towards Barnack and I kind of give them the wiggly brow.
Yep.
Did you see that?
Are you all right?
Yeah, he's fine.
Yes.
Pound is back.
Speaking of things that you might be able to do for us, there's that one item over there that I can see in the distance on the shelf. That sword.
Yes. A fine thing. Hold on. And he just waves a hand, and the table in front of him clears of the items that were there, and immediately the sword that you're discussing appears.
Right. We would be interested in this item. Is it for sale?
Oh yes. And he kind of checks a price card. But with your discount, that comes down to about 630 gold pieces. It hasn't got any magic in it, if that's what you're concerned about. I'm just selling it for the beautiful price and everything. And we did just conduct some very important business, so
Yep.
I'm very much willing to part with it for a reasonable price, even though, considering its make and model and likely previous owner, I could probably get a very good price from some people who hate elves very much. But
What do you mean by likely previous owner?
well, this is the handiwork of the elves, and likely of Corellin himself. And even though it's been depowered, I mean, you can tell it's lackluster. It has no magic anymore. But even though it's essentially useless in combat, there are some followers, spiders and the like, who would be very eager to put their hands on this and wave it in the face of Corellin and say, "Look what we stole from you." I could probably get the equivalent of. And he kind of looks a little guiltily, maybe 2 souls, or several thousand, possibly tens of thousands of guilders, with the right collector. But I'm not really in the mood to haggle over something that has no value. Nothing intrinsically, anyway.
How
So,
much do we have in our
Yeah, which
haversack?
like I said, 630 gold pieces.
We've got 1,300 gold worth of platinum and 186 gold. I say we buy this.
He kind of looks a bit confused at you guys, and he goes like, "You understand power, like useless, right? It has no
Yes,
value otherwise."
We understand. It's more of as you mentioned, we are an interested collector. This item has significance to how we all came to be together. And,
Interesting.
It
Okay.
is in our best interest to procure it. So
Turnok's just confused as fuck, but it's not going to interfere. Like,
Yeah.
he has no idea why you're interested in it.
So those of you who can read Elvish, you read like on the guard, on the cross guard, you can read that this is Kohandrian, one of the two sister swords of Corellin, and you see on the immensely intricately detailed blade, like it tells 100 stories across its blade, and across the hilt. You see many images of the sun, of the elven gods of old, of their tribulations. You even see a depiction of Lolth being destroyed. Obviously, that didn't actually happen, but she lost battles for sure. Yeah, it is a beautiful piece of work. But you, like, just looking at it, you do notice the lack of any sort of magical aura that most anything else in this place has. It's just, this is completely inert.
And does it seem, I mean, I don't know, I don't really have the expertise, but does it seem like a replica or does it seem like the original but that has lost its power?
Well, as far as you can tell, Basil is definitely convinced that it is original, just useless in his eyes. But if you want, I guess you could make an intelligence check to see if you can investigate. But this is not something that anyone can help you on because no one else is more experienced or more
actually, I will try and get the input of somebody more intelligent and experienced, and I'll just go back into my mind space.
Okay.
And I'll say, mon ami, would you perhaps know if this is the sword of Corellon?
You
The
feel a
real
brief
one?
moment, like a sort of pressure around your eyes as he's looking through your eyes, and he takes in the details of the sword. Let's see here. Okay. It looks genuine enough, but there are very capable people on the plains, my friend. Even so, for the price that is offered, a replica would already be worth that kind of money, so I say buy it if you are interested. Although, I will caution you that appeasing old elven spirits is not much use in a world without elves.
Well, there is one. I think back to the crazy powerful mage we released onto the world.
we can offer her this. Yep.
There's a kind of pause, and the only thing he offers in return is, do not take her for a follower of the gods. That would be a very foolish mistake. She has ambitions of her own that would not match such devotion.
We'll keep it in mind. Thank you very much.
Fades away.
And I come back and I say, I think we should definitely buy it. I think it's a good investment.
Sentimental value, at least.
Sorry, Tani, what did you say?
Will it fit in our haversack? Because we need to hide it.
Yeah, it will fit in the haversack.
Okay.
It's the beauty of interdimensional spaces.
Yeah. It was her asking. Kira knows.
Yeah, no,
So
I
he
mean,
said-
Basil says that as well. Like, it's the beauty of interdimensional spaces. Like,
He said 600 and something, right?
630
630.
guilders. Yeah.
So 63
it.
platinum. I think you're the haversacker.
I am. I'll pay it.
All right.
Haversacker.
You reach
And do
into
we
your
have
sack
the hilt?
and you take out a load of gold.
A platinum. Do we have the hilt or the scabbard, or is we just know where it is?
I think you took the scabbard, but it was it the scabbard for Kahandrin or Sahandrin? I don't.
I'm not sure because we visited two different places. That's why I'm asking. Like they found the scabbard, but I didn't. In my
No, you
I
guys
just
found the
found this
scabbard together in the vault from the overseer. That was where you found that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
We need to write that down. The haversack.
Before turn off, right?
But no,
I'm
we
not
found.
going
I
nuts
know.
here.
Wait, I know
No,
exactly
it's,
which one we
I
found.
think 2 sessions before you met up with us.
I know which one we found. Hold on, let me just get out my
I
notes.
could have written that down, but it's
I did.
so many pages ago. I'll look it later.
Darn it! I don't know where my note thing is. I haven't unpacked. Wait, no.
Okay. You said the overseer Epirata, right?
Yes. I mean,
Can you
I
tell
can
me the
find my
names
notes
again?
as well, but Kohandrian and Sahandrian.
I think we found the first one, but I'm not sure.
Well, keep in mind that the sword that you were asked to retrieve was Kohandrian, and the one that
Yeah,
Jean-Jacques
and no,
was
we
asked
did-
to
then
retrieve
we-
was Sahandrian.
Yeah, we didn't find our one. I think exactly
And
because
this is
I-
Kohandrian.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
Kohandrian. So this would be the one that Barnek, Tani, and Kor
Yes.
were tasked to retrieve. But the scabbard, I do also believe, but I don't want to say
Is the
for
sa-
sure,
is the
that
other
it was the scabbard of Sahandrian.
Yeah,
Which, you know,
I'm
it's
100.
always nice with sister swords when they have very similar names and are impossible
Yeah.
to keep apart. When you don't keep notes.
I don't know
I'm
where
joking,
my
of
notebook
course.
is.
But I believe it was indeed the scabbard of Sahandrian.
Yeah. We'll check. I mean, we won't go there now, so we'll check.
All right.
I gave the money to Basil.
All right. So he allows you to take the weapon in question. Still looks a little puzzled, but obviously he's not going to prevent you from purchasing something that he thinks has no intrinsic value. And clearly he's not super excited about having to deal with the kind of people that would pay a lot of money for this. So he seems more than happy to let go of it. And you hear him probably mumble to himself like, well, that was the fastest sale I've ever had.
Jacques, Tani, Tarnak, Kor.
We do hear that?
We can
Yeah.
use this as bait as well, just so you know. If they were after this, we can use it.
I also look at him and I say, so you acquired this recently. It wasn't
Oh,
in the
yes.
shop for a long while.
Last night.
Interesting. I won't ask you who it was because I know that's.
Wait, I will. Who was
I was
it?
about to ask.
I think already told us. Yeah.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. They had a very thick black robe on, and I think some kind of symbol on the chest.
Was it a symbol of a?
Circle, some kind. I didn't really pay attention. I don't really, these one-time customers. Sometimes people just need to drop off something that they don't want to hold on to anymore.
Was it like a circle that had? It looked like a chain
round?
circle.
Well, I guess. What do you mean chain circle? It's not
Like
like multiple circles in a chain. If that's
No,
what you
like
mean.
one circle made out of a chain.
Could be. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't really pay attention to it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No,
But
it's,
it could very well
think
be.
about it.
It was just a little
It's okay.
circle.
It's okay. Holy shit. Okay.
All right, well,
I'm kind of waiting, like at the door already, kind of like, Mom, let's go.
Well, shall we go then? I think this was very
Fruitful.
fruitful morning.
Yes.
I concur. Very well. Pleasure doing business with you, and I hope to hear from you very soon.
One thing that I don't think we did discuss, the key.
Yes, good point. And he reaches behind himself and he just pulls it out of thin air, and you just have like this very old-fashioned, seems to be lead key that he just hands over to you. If you need to find me, focus on this item, and open the nearest door, and you will be able to enter here immediately. I would suggest it takes some time, so don't do this in dangerous situations, and don't use my place as an escape. It tends to leave a bad reputation, and as long as I'm not free, I do have that reputation to maintain.
Of course.
he kind of stops for a moment and he goes like, normally that would be enough, but just to be completely honest, as we've established so far, it means I won't let you in if you bring danger.
Okay.
Understood.
Question though, when we go in through that door, do we have to get out through that door? Or rather, do we go out to the same place?
That is correct. I'm not an interdimensional portal hub for
Okay.
anyone to travel anywhere.
Oh no, I wasn't thinking that, of course. I was.
I know you were, Barnack. I know you were.
Just see him smiling.
Let us away, friends.
All right. No. And he walks you to the door, opens it for you, and again it happens that instead of stepping back into that alleyway, you step out literally onto the main street. And you turn around and you see that you're standing like in front of a butcher. People kind of looking at you, a little weird, but it's kind of escaping their perception. So very quickly they just move on, and nobody pays you any special attention for that. All right.
Okay.
It is about, I would say at this point, probably about 11 in the morning. You still have some time. So is there anything else you guys want to do before the formal appointment at Jean-Jacques' cousin's? Or would you like to, pass the time, maybe go back to the Stormcrow, and then go straight there?
I just asked them, if they don't propose anything, I am making my way back, to the Stormcrow to wait until the appointment. But I asked them, would you mind telling me why, aside from all of the gifts we got, we just spent almost all of our economies in a regular old sword? A beautiful one, not gonna lie, but
Yeah, of course, it requires some explaining. Let's talk about it when we get to the tavern.
okay.
All right.
That's
So I have a quick question for you guys as players. We usually have a break, but typically the main purpose of that break is, especially for Carlos, to have lunch with his family. Do you guys still want to have that 30-minute break, or should we have a shorter one soon and then just continue on?
I'm
I
fine
don't
with the
mind
shorter
having
one.
a shorter one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah?
I'm fine with either.
All right. So I would say let's get back to the tavern, and then let's have a short break, and then we'll continue. All right. You make it back to the Stormcrow Tavern. It's getting busy now. Most of the snow in the street has at least cleared out. You do see a few people falling here and there just from how slippery things are. Children laughing. Other people laughing when it's these Yana fanatics that fall on their asses. But you make it back to a cozy, warm Stormcrow Tavern. A few patrons sitting around and enjoying some lunch. Finn is behind the bar. Delana's nowhere to be seen for the moment, presumably cooking. Yeah, you can take a seat, pass some time, discuss what you want to do next. And I would say that, well, is there anything you guys want to discuss, first of all?
Well, yes.
Otherwise, we'll
there is
move on. But, yeah.
the unanswered question of why we purchased that sword.
Right.
Because
I guess
I'm just asking, and I want to be direct with you. It's just that I have not abandoned, but I've left my path and trail aside in order to aid you and continue on with you. And every day that passes, there's an unsolved mystery or something that I've never heard before. So, would you please be clear with me on what's going on here exactly? And
Yeah,
who are you? What is this?
It's nothing. It's nothing against you, Tarnok. It's just that we forget that you weren't there when that happened. We think of you as someone who's always been there, and I mean that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this particular purchase has to do with how we all, well, in part, how we all came to be together in the first place. For myself, many years back, I was dungeon delving, so to say. I was exploring some ruins northeast of or east of North Dyke, and I came upon an elven crypt wherein I encountered an spirit of a long dead elf that spoke to me, and they bequeathed unto me the quest to retrieve an item of great import to the elven people, a sword of one of two swords actually that were made and wielded by Kevin, wielded by or just made. Just made. Wielded by Corral. Okay. So wielded by Corellin, and I don't know if you know, but the ancient god of the elves. And they set me on, and this was in part how I came to Watchhold in pursuit of this sword. Its name is Sahandrin, the sister or brother of the sword that we bought today. One of two.
For
And
We
then-
need
us,
both?
Yeah.
And we need both? You need both, actually.
well,
Okay.
the three of us, Core, Tani, and myself, our first mission as official freelancers was to go and see if there was something wrong with the village. And we also stumbled upon, we weren't really dungeon delving, we just stumbled upon an ancient elven, well, ruins of something elven, I don't know. And another spirit spoke to us and told us that we should try to get the sword back to them. One very important note, though, instead of the sword, that is where we found this, and I show you the watch piece,
Mm.
the golden watch. This was there. This was left by whoever took the sword,
Mm-hmm.
or whoever was trying to find it before us, or something.
So
No.
now we have one of two swords. Okay. And a bunch
one
of loose
scabbard.
ends.
And a
one
scabbard.
scabbard that we found. Oh, did he?
Oh, I think he.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, and he is the one who needs to know the story.
Yeah, that's why I stopped talking. 'Cause
So in the meantime, to pass over this moment for a second, Tani, I whispered to you, but you also noticed that Finn is kind of beckoning for a moment to speak with you when you have a second. So whenever in the flow of this conversation, at some point when there's a lull, if you go to find him, you can speak with him briefly.
There are two Brunos.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Wow.
Hold on. Okay, we're good again.
Okay.
However, that moved everyone on
OCD.
my overlay. So
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
no, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Let me just move everyone into the appropriate locations. But then, okay, so Tani, we'll get to that in a second. But please continue explaining the story of the.
Yeah, I left in the scabbard part. Like
Yeah.
you have a scabbard as well.
So I say and a scabbard, which we found a few days, I guess, after we all convened in Watchhold, in the offices of one overseer Epirata, who turned out to be, well, she was actually the head of the freelancer office in Watchhold, effectively all of ours superior and leader of that outpost. She turned out to be conspiring to acquire pieces of the item that Barnack just showed you, as well as some form of fiend, or at least that she had made a pact with a fiend. We defeated her, and in her office we found a vault that contained the scabbard of Sahandrin.
You have it right now.
We do, but we
Yes.
have a scabbard of one and the actual sword of another, so we
Okay.
haven't
That
brought
was
them
going
two
to.
together.
I was going to, investigate upon that. Actually, I was going to see if, I didn't know if you know that. That's my thing. I was just trying to figure out if it was the sword was related to the scabbard.
We are not 100% sure because our notes are not here. It will
Yeah, I
check.
looked through mine and I don't see anything about the scabbard, unfortunately. I guess it was.
I'll look up the
Okay.
scabbard on our break.
But yeah, so that's why we got it, because we might be able to just finally
Okay.
one day
Yeah.
go back and deliver on our promise.
Just keep
Yeah,
me in
this
the loop,
was
okay? It's important.
yeah.
Yeah.
This was even bigger than the golden thing. That yeah, but I don't know if I should still keep it a secret because it stopped working. But yeah, it was that mission was even bigger than the golden thing that we found.
Yeah, we never
Now that
discussed
I
the
remember.
golden apple.
Yeah.
We never discussed why was the golden apple there instead of the.
And remember that they did know that we were somehow going to find it because Bruxo apparently took a contract weeks before, and we were celebrating in that tavern. And then, remember, those brothers attacked us, and that's where we all started. Yes.
Yeah, but Braxo was meeting with Epirata.
Yeah.
This Epirata knew,
Uh-huh.
and Epirata was conspiring with someone from here.
Mm-hmm. That's why we're here too.
That's why we are here.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a theory, and it's obviously just a theory, but if the
Okay.
clockmaker is interested in bringing back the order of things from before, it would make sense that she would leave clues or items of note in places where the sort of avatars of this old way of things would be prominent or would be able to be found. So at least that's what I think, would make sense. But I'd consider doing something like that myself. Right? If I wanted to inspire people to pursue bringing back Quirlon, what better way to do it than leave a powerful artifact that leads this person on a quest to acquire more power and knowledge in a place that would tie it back to Quirlon.
Okay.
Jean-Jacques, I would like you to take some inspiration.
Oh, thank you.
Well, so if I mean, it's been told to us several times already that we're just pawns, and somebody's moving the pieces, and we're. What I'm trying to say, eventually, we will find the other sword. You know,
Yeah.
That's
But
true.
this
there's
seems
also
to
one
be the
detail.
path we're trailing.
There's
And
also
remember-
one detail, and I like have you guys lean forward a bit because it's a super secret. Since we said no to Pax and the clockmaker, the golden thing doesn't work anymore. But the evil people don't know that. And yeah, that's it.
Right.
And I lean back away.
Darling,
Each other, people.
that was amazing.
Bardock's side.
Yeah.
Cor just has his mind blown. Like he's just like, whoa.
So do you think? Well, we gotta confirm if they know, if they feel that the magic has stopped. But what if they don't? And I don't know. That's as far as my mind can go right now. But we should still investigate, right? Because these people are evil and are.
Well, I think that no matter what we do, we don't know what for they want to use these items. If they're simply trying to work with the clockmaker and become disciples, that's a lot more benevolent, even though it doesn't necessarily align with all of our beliefs. I do not believe that the clockmaker is working towards the inherent detriment of everybody, right? The old way, while flawed, was a lot more structured and orderly, right? It's not as if they are trying to destroy the world and make it a barren wasteland, right? So if individuals like a Pirata are trying to get the items, I do believe they're trying to get them for nefarious purposes, maybe to corrupt them or in some way use them against the other disciples of the clockmaker. Maybe they're
Maybe
I don't
even against the clockmaker herself.
exactly.
Well, we'll see. We'll
So
see.
I definitely am interested in pursuing this further because I think that even if we don't achieve a great goal ourselves, stopping somebody from achieving a great evil goal is in and of itself an achievement worth our time.
I agree.
So just to clarify, right? Even though you guys are talking about this privately and secretively, you are in the common room?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I guess
Yeah.
we didn't specify that we're not, so we
No,
probably are.
but
In the
also
corner
from the-
of the common room.
Yeah, like from the wanting to be secretive, I kind of assumed, but because I just
Yeah.
realized you guys are still like the tokens are still up there, so I just wanted to move
Yeah.
you to where you should be.
And as Starnock said, we are pawns. Well, everyone tells us we're pawns. So we should always also remember that pawns can sometimes kill the queens.
Exactly. Very good point. I didn't know you knew chess, Barnack. You should play
Oh, I
sometime.
do. Well, what else can you play when you're drunk on a ship?
Well, actually, we probably played a lot together.
Yeah, maybe with your own rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jean-Jacques probably taught Barnack a version of chess where he could just always win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so as you guys are talking, there's this brief momentary pause, right, where you're all looking at each other, and you just hear this weird muttering nearby, and appearing out of thin air, out of invisibility, is Appy, your friend, and he's just kind of standing there under his hood, like still pulled down, like hiding the weird deformity of like being partially human but also having patches of skin that are more tiefling-like, and the like misshapen growth of his horns, and just kind of standing there. He kind of looks a little weird and a little out of sorts, and he kind of looks at you guys. You're so wrong. How could you do this to? How could you do this to me? And he just like says a word and snaps his fingers. You may attempt to
Okay.
counterspell if you wish.
Can I? How does this work? Can I first attempt to identify the spell, or
Um,
is this?
So
'cause
let
it
me see
uses a
here, because we shared the rules about
Yeah.
that, right? So
I think it uses a reaction to identify the spell.
It does. It does.
yeah, I think
I,
so.
I read it just before we started. It uses a reaction to identify it.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can either try to identify it, or you can just immediately attempt to counterspell whatever he's doing.
I will. Fuck.
That's
Do
not
I
an option.
trust- I will fuck. I will try to counterspell.
Do you choose a different level?
I choose level 4.
Okay. He, immediately upon seeing this, like with a speed you did not expect, casts a 5th level counterspell as well. Just like
counterspell
literally
the
just
curse.
slapping you down with the
Yeah.
response. And immediately you watch as parts of the tables nearby get pushed back as a forced cage surrounds you. 20 feet to each side almost, like not quite, but just to fit in here. And it seems to just wrap completely around you guys. There's kind of scraping of chairs nearby as a few of the other patrons get up. Finn stands up and just kind of looks over. Doesn't do anything yet. But Appy just looks over his shoulder, and you just hear him hiss in a voice that doesn't sound like his, and he just says, "Get out!" And immediately, people just kind of scramble to get out. They're not, heroes or fighters. So they just kind of go for the door immediately, scrambling over each other almost. And he pulls back the hood, and you see for the first real time, because he's always had his hood on with you guys. You see Appy in his full form here, and it is a kind of a miserable sight, that's for sure. You don't know, if he was born like this or if he was always like this, but he looks like he's in a rough spot, even rougher than when you last left him. The weird thick skin abrasions and mutant growths almost have left him looking quite fierce. But as he looks over you guys. You see a new kind of awareness in his eyes. And he looks incredibly angry, first and foremost. And he seems to be regarding you in a new way as well. And he says, "You just had to say no, didn't you? You just had to reject her."
No.
I didn't reject her.
One of you
Sorry
what
for
I
leaving
see.
you at the ship, and well, from what you're saying, it looks like you heard us, but we can explain. We can explain.
Explain? What is there to explain? You turned your back on me. You abandoned any chance I had of becoming normal again. Just
Now,
forgot about me. Everyone forgot about me.
Happy, we're real sorry. We didn't necessarily forget. We were trapped.
How could you?
It's very fair, Happy. I understand that you're mad. You should be. It wasn't fair. We didn't do it on purpose.
No, we didn't do it on purpose.
As you guys watch, and this becomes
Be angry
obvious,
is what you want.
and this becomes obvious to everyone, is like as he's kind of straining, you see like he's tensing his muscles, not against anything, but just he's tense completely and all over. You see these like light waftings of green energy kind of come off of him, like thinnest bits of smoke, just like waves of very slow energy in that same way that you've seen happen from the flowers before. But this is his own natural affinity for magic, as far as you can tell. It's just that he's currently channeling or possessing or has access to a very, very large font of magical energy. And he has locked you up in a space that I think those of you familiar with magic are aware is incredibly difficult to be removed from if the caster doesn't want you to be.
This is a question to the DM that is going to be a question for the players if depending on the answer. But do I know this guy?
You only know him from the ship. He's traveled with you, but he hasn't interacted with you much. The rest of the party has been speaking with him on and off. But mainly, probably at the time, it was secretively, since at the time you guys weren't telling Turnock about the golden timepiece. So you've probably seen them kind of pull away from you, or at least cut off their discussions with him anytime that you were around, and he definitely didn't engage when this was the case.
Okay. I just turn to Jean-Jacques and I say, that's what I say when I say to keep me in the loop, like.
Yeah, we gotta explain this too.
You could have told me more as well. She punished me. She punishes me with truth for your failure. It wasn't supposed to go like this. It wasn't supposed to go like this.
What? Truth.
And ironically, you feel terrible, just so you guys know.
What?
What? She...
I remember it all. I don't want to remember all of it.
We're real sorry, Abby. We would have said something if we only had a chance. We talked to you about everything that had to do with the timepiece. You know that. It all happened outside of our control. Tani and Kor were trapped. Barnick and I went after them, and so did Turnock, and it all went down in this weird dreamscape thing that we had no way of communicating with you. I promise you we would have told you if we only could have.
How could you?
Yeah, we were going to find you at the ship and bring you here, but then we heard a voice, and
How could you choose this? It hurts. It hurts all the time. I don't want to remember.
What
You did
do you
this.
remember?
She punishes me with truth, with the memories. I remember all of it.
what do you mean all of it?
And he turns around and he starts kind of like still holding his head, walking away. And you try to plead, you feel out briefly the limits of essentially what is a cell that's been built for you now. you fill out the limits, and is there anything at this point, as he turns his back, that you want to signal to, for example, Finn? Because he's the only one that's still in the room.
Is he within the
He's
cage?
not within. He is currently trying to edge closer to what seems to be a weapon that he keeps behind the bar.
I just kind of I look at him and I just wave my head like, no, just give us a moment.
Yeah, I noticed Jean-Jacques doing that, and I'll do the same.
He just holds up his hands and he stays still. And actually is surprisingly calm about the entire matter as he just leans forward on the bar and just goes to observe, just like,
What a fucking
Okay.
badass. Not the guy I remember, but whatever.
oh, he's seen some shit in the meantime. But Appy, in the meantime, just kind of stands with his back to you guys, and he says, I remember everything we did to them. It wasn't me. I didn't... Why didn't we stop when they screamed? And there's this moment where he just kind of whimpers and becomes quiet. And then you see the head go up a little bit, and his posture changes entirely. I do apologize for that. He turns around, takes you all in, and it's like looking at a different person. It's like, that's definitely not the Appy you've known, the insecure, worried, amnesiac person that you've been trying to shepherd into finding his way. Well. This is a little mess here. I take it you're the ones who've been, I guess, babysitting while I've been incapacitated? Well?
No, you're not the Appy we know.
No. My name's not Appy. What a ridiculous name, by the way. Please never call me that again. I would very much appreciate it.
What is your name?
Well, as to that, he looks around a little bit. He looks at Finn, smiles at him, weirdly, in a very, very unfriendly, unkindly way. Looks back at you guys. Well, as to that, I don't think that's really any of your business. The only reason I want to be here is to tell you to leave me alone. Let's part ways here. And nothing has to change for you. In fact, you can forget all about me. Do you have a deal?
Or am I going to leave you alone if I don't know who you are or why you're here?
Well, that's kind of the point. You know as little as possible, and we move on. I just want to make sure that there's no sentiment lingering that will make you come after me, investigate me, or in any other way try to find out who or where I am.
Okay, we won't. I won't look for you, but can I understand at least this? Did you somehow restart? Did your memories wipe away, but you're still the same person, or are you a new person? Another conscience.
I'm me. I am everything that is me. I am the total person. What you've been dealing with was a fragment. Something that she left as punishment for something I tried to do. But don't worry about that. I'll get her back. I'm prepared now. I know what she can do.
And if we decline?
Well, that will make this very unpleasant. And I think I might have to introduce you to a few friends of mine, just to make sure that in the aftermath of what happened, you would feel inclined to agree anyway. I'm threatening you. Just accept, and we can all walk away from here with all of our limbs intact, all of our minds intact, and no need to bother each other again.
Guys, I don't really feel threatened. I mean, Appy's threatening us.
Would
Hey,
you like me to make my threats more tangible? He reaches out and he grabs something in midair that's not there, like a part of the fabric of space, and he just rips it away, and you see just this black tear in nothingness. And he looks into it for a moment, and he says something that you can't quite understand. He whispers it almost like a message. And after a few seconds, you watch as an arm pushes through of a humanoid sort of being, and another arm pushes through. You see the skin is quite dark, seems to be human, in fact, but embedded in the flesh are these thin lines of metal, seemingly fused together. And as it pushes out, you see a face that's still mostly intact, of a man, but like the hair is all gone, and on the side of the head you see several of the cogwheels inlaid and intertwined and currently click, 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 click. And you see that it has several more of these modifications around its body, and it just kind of pushes itself into the space, and behind it comes another, and behind that comes another. 3. One is human, one seems to be more shorter, maybe part dwarf, and another one is definitely a half-elf. And they push into the space, but they act almost like automatons. Like they look at Appy, or formerly Appy, and just kind of take up positions around the force cage around you guys, trying like to feel their way in, but when they realize that there's a barrier, they stop and just kind of take the position up around there.
So Appy's not within the force cage. We're in the force cage.
Yes, he encased you guys in it. Away from
He's
himself.
outside.
Yeah.
I just look at
Ah.
Barnack.
That kind of threat.
Yes, and I can
Duly
assure you
noted.
that my little pets here are not the most pleasant to play with. You watch, like, as you guys are kind of having this standoff, as one of them seems to kind of shimmer for a moment, as if it becomes translucent almost, and then it just disappears, and it teleports to another space adjacent to the square, and it seems involuntary. It's like it's kind of disoriented itself after it comes out, but then it immediately refocuses on you guys.
Well, we were mainly interested in you as who we thought to be a friend.
I mean, I have to frankly thank you for what you did, because of course you did bring me back. So thank you for that, and I am grateful, but that is the main reason that I choose not to act in any further capacity here. Now, you can understand that the people that have left, and after the little outburst that occurred, and he looks a little disturbed, we probably don't have too much time alone, and if anybody arrives, and he looks at the creatures that he summoned, this won't be a pleasant experience for anyone. So I'm going to need your answer sooner rather than later.
I don't know about them, sir, but I'm not looking to have any more enemies, considering the amount of enemies we already have.
And that's a smart man.
So-
Dragonborn. Apologies.
I just gotta look at the other 3, them having a much stronger relationship with Appy, and that kind of say, I don't think we've got much choice here, friends.
It breaks my heart how Abby was so broken on those last moments. That, yeah, you're not Abby anymore. And I don't wish to have you as an enemy.
I agree, but just a simple question. You said we part ways. Does that mean that you will not go after us?
Of course not. Why would I have any reason to go after you? You've
No, I
rejected.
don't know who you are. I don't know what you're doing here. You're here to assure we're not going to go after you.
Indeed. You have rejected the one that has earned my ire. So, as long as you do not align with her, we have no qualms whatsoever.
And if we do,
Then I'm sure we'll meet again.
fair enough.
Excellent. And he just like clicks his fingers, and the creatures start walking back into the rift and disappear. And he just kind of looks into it for a moment, looks at you guys. Well, a happy last meeting. And he steps through, and then you guys still have about 50 minutes on a force cage that won't drop.
15 or 50?
50, 5-0.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was about to ask him, can you let us go at least?
It's actually not. It's not a concentration spell, so he literally wouldn't be able to choose to drop it.
Ugh.
Oh well. Okay. You guys have a lot of enemies. Oh my
Well,
god.
to be fair, this one we couldn't have known about, really.
Did you see
Well,
how Uppy was suffering? We
Yeah.
didn't forget him.
well,
I don't think it was us forgetting him, Tani. I think it was us rejecting
Yep.
her.
Exactly.
So I don't know how this will play with Core, but of course he was the one who ultimately met with
Yeah.
and chose otherwise. So I will say only this, that in this moment, Core will make the correction saying, I rejected her. And whatever his emotional responses to that is Carlos's to figure out. But I'm sure that Core at least has something to think about, being the upstanding and morally vigilant person that he usually has proven to be. So, with another 50 minutes in the force cage, you guys have some time to discuss, but I would suggest that we take our break here. Let's take 15 minutes and return at 20:05 CET to pick this up.
I would guess, out of character, we would explain who was happy to turn out. So yeah.
I mean, I know. Now that I know him, like I know that he was there, he shared with us. I've seen him interacting with you, and what I knew from him is that he was friendly.
No, but we would explain everything now, like who actually he wasn't, and we would just
And who
fill you
was
in. Yeah. So
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was-
So
yeah.
please do.
Why he was so devastated.
He was a guy
at
that-
us
yeah.
saying no.
Yeah, he was
What,
a guy.
sir?
Go ahead, Kira.
No, we would explain why he was so devastated by us saying no. But we knew him shortly after we were attacked at the tavern. He was there during the fight, and he just came up to us and said, "Want to know more about the golden thing that you found?" So we went to his place in secret, and he revealed that he had been a follower of the clockmaker, like one of his staff members. I forget the medieval fantasy name. And he had somehow angered her, and she had punished him. Is that right, Barney? Well, Milosh? Am I getting the story right? And
Yeah.
he wanted to return to his former magical prowess self.
which he definitely did by casting Force Cage.
And ripping a fabric in reality.
That too.
Yeah.
But what did we just do in order for him to return to his own self?
Rejected
Because-
her again, I think.
Was it rejecting her that caused this? But wasn't that what he wanted? Like, what is said is that he was a shell of himself, that figure, that agonizing creature that we've seen is just a part of the multiple beings or souls or identities, personalities that are stored within that individual. So we just helped them.
Well, I don't think it's really that simple, to be honest.
He
I
said.
think that.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think that Core's actions had some unforeseen consequences and that they were not foreseeable. We could not have simply known that this would be the outcome, nor would I don't think much have changed about how things were done, if we even knew.
Yeah, I don't think Appy would have, well, had known either. I don't think he knew. And I mean Appy that we knew.
Yeah, I don't think that him forgetting what he did was that much of a punishment, more a lesson.
He said before he transformed that she was punishing him with the
The
truth.
memories.
Exactly.
So this was her doing.
Yeah.
Him
Well-
transforming back in the end was her doing. Not ours.
Him being broken, having only some memories, and being a shadow of what he was her doing as well. It was his punishment. Knowing, but also not knowing.
Maybe that was his reward, because if she was punishing him by giving him back his memories, that means that taking away his memories is not a punishment. It's a reward of sorts.
I'm going to
Yeah,
take
maybe.
Finn to throw in an idea here. But, you know, he's listening. He's quite intrigued. And he'll say, well, you're talking about them as if they're one person. But what if they were really two? And one of them, the new one that you knew, was better than the old one. And he didn't want to go back because he realized he was a terrible person.
That is what I think as well.
Yes.
Which
Two
is quite
people in
tragic.
Two people in a single person.
Kind
Yeah, when he
of.
was saying that,
Bob.
I said, well, what if I start saying those things once I remember what I did?
Tani, the difference between Appy and you is that, might be shitty to say this, but Appy didn't have anyone around him when this thing happened. You still have friends. And we are part of your family of sorts, so
And I don't think I will turn into a weird person.
if
Like
you
Well,
start
that's the two things this group has, right? Friends and loose ends. Oh my goodness. And I'm starting to get really anxious with the fact that I'm stuck in the cage, like a bit claustrophobic, like let me out. Not like that, but in spirit.
Sure.
Finn, can you get us some ale?
He just, like, knocks on the cage where the barrier is.
Yeah.
I can throw some ale at you, but it's just going to stain my floor.
Yeah.
But yes, Tani, if you start remembering something that you don't want to, please share it with us.
Barnacle just hit you in the head, make you forget again.
That can work.
Alright, so let's have our short break, and we'll be back soon with the second half of this episode.